7 principles that I mentioned last night. I want to open with them in this session. And the first principle of true leadership sounds very simple, but yet it's very challenging. And that is, true leadership is the inherent reality of the human spirit. It is built into us. True leadership is inherent in the human spirit. And what that means is that every human being has built into his or her spirit the capacity to lead. Everybody does. Now, whether they become that or execute that, or whether they experience that inherent leadership potential, is up to a number of factors. One of the major ones is environment. Because we become what our environment dictates to us. And so having the spirit of leadership, or should I say the leadership spirit built into you, does not guarantee that you shall become that leader. Principle number 2, true leadership cannot be taught. It must be discovered. Another important principle to remember. All the leadership seminars in the world cannot make you a leader. Because if it could, we'd have more competent leaders around us. We got colleges and institutes that train people in leadership, and then when they graduate, they are followers. Leadership is something that happens to you because it's already present, but it's buried within you. Principle number 3, true leadership is self-discovery. And what we mean by that is a leader is born when you discover yourself, the truth about yourself, the essence about your true nature and your capabilities, your true potential. That is why, and I want to make this point very clear, that is why the greatest leaders in history that we perceive as leaders were normally products of crisis. Because they were placed in circumstances or under conditions that drew on abilities they never knew they had. It was always there, but they discovered some things about themselves in the midst of the pressure that they didn't know they had. And that is why some of the greatest leaders in history were born in the furnace of crisis. Many times, and probably most times, the Creator will allow you to enter crisis to reveal yourself. And if you study the text of Scripture, you will find this to be true in the lives of most of the people that we admire as great leaders in Scripture. If you study them, it was crisis that revealed them. In other words, every David needs a Goliath. And so leadership is self-discovery. Principle number 4, true leadership is serving your gift to the world. We tried to make this clear the last 2 days, that leadership is a matter of discovering what you were supposed to serve to the world, and then the conditions that you are placed in that make demands on that gift. Everybody in this building and watching this DVD, listening to this CD, everybody that exists have a market waiting for them. There's an audience that was born to receive your gift. And you got to believe that. I was shocked when I discovered how big my market was. And when I compare where I was born to who are seeking me today, it doesn't add up. I believe that it's impossible for you to find your market without stepping out in faith. You have to be willing to lose everything to gain everything. Sometimes we call situations tragedy, crisis. But in God's program, they were promotions. If some things never happened, you would never be doing what you're doing. Greenwood is a product of a crisis. I rest my case. Nothing is more dangerous to progress than comfort. And that is why the greatest wealth always comes from bankruptcy. What gift are you supposed to serve to the world? You know, you have to lose everything before you gain everything. In my book, Becoming a Leader, please, everyone get a copy of this book. I just can't stress it. I'm leaving you in a few hours, so I'm going to leave my book with you. Because I'm in my book, so you can get me. This book, I talk about something that people keep missing, and that is you can never be totally accepted until you're being completely rejected. The reason why many people don't achieve their true leadership ability is because they are seeking the approval of everybody. They want to be liked. If you are an original, you are an irritation. The very nature of originality means that you have no duplicate anywhere. You automatically become a suspect. Because we never seen you before. That's why most of us would prefer to be copies, so we can be liked. Number 5, true leadership is self-deployment. This is a simple statement, but it's not easy. To deploy yourself means that you discover what you're supposed to deliver to the world, and you distribute it. I'm working on a new book that's going to come out next year. It's going to take that long to write it. And it's really called The Power of Servant Leadership. In that book, we're going to talk about some heavy stuff about the reality of what it is to serve yourself to the world. Because that's what's missing in the world. Deploying yourself is frightening, but it's necessary. And sometimes God blesses you with a good job, because in that context, he wants you to deploy yourself. It's good to work for a company, for a church, for an educational system. It's good. Because in that situation, God has given you that privilege to deploy yourself. I believe that none of us should really be employed. I believe we should all be deployed. In essence, if you've been hired to work in a company, you need to turn that position into your own business. Treat it as if it's your business. And what I'm teaching concerning leadership is not an encouragement for you to abandon your ministry or abandon the church or abandon the business you're in or abandon the company. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you finding an opportunity to deliver your gift to that organization and deploy yourself there. You see, I am too valuable to be employed. So if I work for your company, I'm working for myself. I'm just deploying my gift within the context of your organization or your vision, that's all. And that's what God intended. He intended for every joint to supply, to build up the whole. That's what leadership is. Let me give you another example. Number 6, true leadership is self-manifestation. A leader is someone who is so busy manifesting themselves, they have no time to prove themselves. You know, some people live to prove themselves to other people. That's a problem. You ain't got nothing to prove. Just be yourself. What a tragedy to live the rest of your life having to prove yourself to your parents or to your ex-husband or to your girlfriend who left you or your boyfriend who jilted you. You are too smart to live your life proving yourself to people. Get busy manifesting yourself to the world. Number 7, true leadership is self-exposure. True leadership is showing us who you really are. True leadership is becoming everything he first thought of when he created you. God had an idea that made you necessary. There's something God wanted done that required your presence. So he created you to manifest it. That's what leadership is born from. It is born from exposing that self that God intended. Now, Moses was designed to be a deliverer. Born to be a deliverer. Matter of fact, that's why the Lord made his mother and father name him Moses. Moshe is the Hebrew word. It actually means through the waters. It's heavy stuff. I wonder what your true name is. Not the one your father gave you. The one God had in mind. What is your true name? Can we expose your true name? What is your true name? You know, Jesus changed names of certain people because the name wasn't right. I wish I had time to talk to you about that because that's a very heavy principle there. It's a very important principle. See, you always got two names. The one your parents gave you and the one God had in mind. And by the way, in Hebrew, the name of a thing is the thing. And that's why God did not allow Mary and Joseph to name Jesus. God provided the name himself. You shall call his name Yeshua. Why? For he shall save people. See, he was named what he was. What is your true name? By the way, you should never build your confidence on your last name. You need to live in such a way that your first name is enough. Study the Bible. We don't know anybody's last names. This is too much for you. I can't talk about it. People who have not found their true self need a lot of titles. The more titles you need, the less effective you are. That's why you need titles. The more effective you become, the less names you need. So if I got to call you the Right Honorable Bishop, Holy, Righteous, Prophet, Evangelist, man or woman of God, that is proof that you don't know what you're doing. I want you to think about it. That's why I back away from all these titles people have. You know, when you say oral, now there are a lot of guys named Oral in the world. But when you say oral, you need to live so effectively that your first name is enough. Expose yourself. I don't blame you. I'd laugh too. You never heard this, Bishop Moses. Doesn't need it. Reverend Ezekiel. Doesn't need it. Prophet Paul. Doesn't need it. Evangelist Jesus. Doesn't need it. So why are people so caught up in all of these pursuit of titles? It's because they haven't lived effectively enough yet to lose them. Lady said to me one day, she says, every time I think of Myles, I think of purpose. I said, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. On my first name to be enough. On my tombstone, all I want is Myles. That's all I want. One guy lived so well, all he put on his grave is JFK. Not even a name. Leadership is exposing your true self.